guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Anna. I'm a registered nurse. I'm currently in my master's program to become a family nurse practitioner, but since it's the beginning of the school semester, I thought it would be a good idea to pop on here and share with you some study tips for new nursing school students. So this is targeted for LVN, associate degree nurse, and bachelor's of science degree nurse, not specifically for the graduate program, just because I do study more independently in this program. So with that being said, let me just get into the nursing school tips, and also just give you a little background as well. So when I started nursing school, I was not the typical 4.0 GPA person. I didn't have strong study skills. I had learned a little bit how to study when I was taking my sciences, which I really wanted to make an A on, and I did. But other than that, I really just sort of winged it and was able to get by without having really strong study habits. So my first semester of nursing school was pretty difficult. I would say I guess I did well, because in the program, I think you have to have at least like a 75 average for the exams and like a B in the class or something. I can't remember. Ugh. I started nursing school in 2012, so it was a while ago. Anyways, so I did well because I passed, but it was the most difficult semester for me because I didn't have those strong study skills. So anyways, with that being said, let me go ahead and get into what helped me succeed. And I have my notes here, so just excuse me for looking down. Okay. So the first tip that I can give you is read before class and print out your lectures. If they have lectures or PowerPoint notes, print them out if possible, and read before class. So why is this important? Because if you're stepping into the class and maybe you're going over cardio or neuro or something that you're not familiar with, it's easier for you to understand things if you've already read about it. You're able to better cement that in your brain. Now, I'm not saying that I did this every single time, because you don't have time every single time, but I did this a lot of times, and I would get to school and I would have 10, 15, 20 minutes before class, and I'd maybe spend 10 minutes skimming over what I'm going to be going over that day, or sometimes I would have more time and I would dedicate it to it. So just try to be as prepared as possible whenever you come to class, and that'll really help you, because if you get to class, you don't have your notes in front of you, then you're making notes in a separate page where you could be making it for your lecture and PowerPoints, and just continue to build on that. So when your exam comes, it's all in one spot for you. And any thoughts or tips and tricks or mnemonics that you've learned, it's all in one place for you. At the beginning, my first semester, I would have a notebook. Then I would have some sheets of paper here and there. And then I would have the lecture handouts. And it's just not efficient, especially when you're learning things at such a fast pace. So that's my tip number one for you. And let's see. So my next tip is to record your lectures and listen to them over and over again. So that's something that I did. So some professors will allow it and some will not, but always ask in advance and see. Most of them will. There was only several that were not okay with it. But what I would do is, my school was about 30 minutes from where I lived, so I would record the lecture notes, and anytime I was in my vehicle, I'd plug it in and I'd listen to the lecture. There was no music in nursing school, and if people were riding with me, we'd listen to it, and I just listened to it over and over and over again. And every time I would re-listen to it, I would catch something that I maybe didn't the first time, or it would help me to clarify it in my mind. And sometimes at the end of a long study session, or at the end of a long night when I was too tired to really think critically, it's nice to just have that, listen to it as your background music, and maybe, I don't know, pray on it that you'll retain it. But anyways, that's what I did. What else? The next thing is, oh yeah, this is so important. So practice Q&As. So if you know anything about nursing school, you know that the exams are difficult. It's not which one's the right answer, it's which one is the more correct answer. And it seems that sometimes, even if you know the information, if you don't know it really really well, then you're not going to get the answer correct. That's just how it is. So something that would be helpful for me is practicing Q&As. Now, it's not as helpful if it's a general Q&A over neuro from some book that they're not using. So what I would suggest is if you have, the fundamentals of nursing, I would try to see if that book has an online, maybe they have something online for you where they have online Q&As. Or what I would also do is just ask my professor, hey, I learn really well from practicing Q&As. Is there anywhere that you can point me in the right direction to? Or any literature that I can scan over that would be of use in this course. Just because you don't want to use outside textbooks because some of them differ in their content. So just be wary of that. But if there is opportunity, try to do the Q&As. They will really, really help you. And 9 times out of 10, you will, even if it's just like a small 10 or 20 question Q&A bank, you're still able to do that. So I would suggest for you to try to do that. Alrighty, so that's that. And then, let's see. The next thing is, I would say probably the most important thing, which is find your tribe. So prior to nursing school, I did not study. I did not do study groups, or I didn't do any of that. And part of the reason is because it's not really as necessary. For anatomy and physiology, I did have this one girl who said, hey, do you want to meet up? And I said, okay. And at that point, it was somewhat helpful. But since neither of us knew how to really study, it wasn't as helpful as it could be. So this is how you meet up. And it's kind of crazy that you would need tips on how to study as a group. But this is really helpful. So whenever I first started nursing school, I actually went through a couple different groups, and I'm not someone to be like, hey, let's meet up. That's not me. But the counselor had said it would be helpful, if you link up with people. So I very sheepishly found a study group, and I went through and studied with a couple people, and I was like, that's not going to work for me. This isn't going to work for me. And eventually one day it was me and my friend who I had, she was an acquaintance of mine on the first day of school. I didn't really know her, but I was like, okay, familiar face, I'm gonna stick to her like glue. And so we were studying at Starbucks together, and we saw some other girl studying by herself, and she's like, oh, that's Brenda, we should invite her over. And I was like, no, we should not invite her over. She does not look friendly, and we're fine by ourselves, girl. Like, let's just keep studying. And so she was like, come on. And so she, my friend being super nice was like, hey, Brenda, would you like to come sit with us? And she's like, oh, okay. And then so she came and joined our study group. So we always laugh about this because ever since she joined that group, it was like us three. Well, also we had Bailey. So anyways, so it was like we had our core group of people, and it was just awesome the way we worked, because she was like the type A personality of the group that would keep us focused. And Anil was just really, my other friend, she was just really smart, and she always had great ideas. And so we would bounce things off of each other. Like, okay, what do you think is most important about this? Oh, and don't forget this. And so once we got our group together, it was so much easier, because you can study and listen over and over, but it's not until you listen and articulate and then you teach someone else that it becomes easier for you. So that's my suggestions for you. It's like the most important tip is find your tribe. Now, there were a few weirdos, not really. There were a few people in nursing school that were like, no, I don't like studying with people. I learn best alone. Well, if that's you, go on, girl. This ain't for you. But it was super helpful for me, and after that, I met with them, I want to say several times a week, like at least 2 or 3 times, and then during testing days, it was like all the time. So, okay, so back to group studying. This is how you can effectively have a group study session. So if you guys all go there and none of you have reviewed the content, it's not going to be super helpful. What y'all need to do is y'all need to, like I said, skim the book before you get to class, so you are kind of somewhat aware or knowledgeable about what you're about to receive. And then you're going to go to class, and during the lecture, some professors are really great, some not so much, but whatever. So they're going to go ahead and teach you, give you the lecture. You'll either have a PowerPoint or the syllabus or something to go off of. And then what you need to do is you need to go home and do some self-studying, really cement this knowledge in. So that in the next day or so, whenever your group gets together, and you guys all need to be on the same page here. Everyone will have already cemented the information in, and now it's just review. So you can't expect to just show up in class, take it in, and then have a super effective study session without putting in the work to comprehend it. So that is my suggestion for you. And then also something that helped me, which is not something that I wrote down, but something that I just remembered, is so on testing days, whenever we would have a test before, I would stay up really, really late and like cram, and then I'd only have like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. Well, that was not the most effective thing for me, and so soon I learned that what I needed was to get a good night's sleep. So a good night's sleep in nursing school on a test day would probably be at least 6 hours of sleep. So I would try to get a good night's sleep the night before, and then I'd wake up super early, and then and sometimes my study partners, me and my study partners would wake up, and then we'd do a once over before the exam. I would say we would meet at like 4 or sometimes 5 a.m. if we had like I think class started at 8 a.m. So if we had an 8 a.m. exam, we'd meet up at like 4 or 5, and then we'd study for the next hour or two, and then after about 45 minutes before class started, we would just stop, give each other breaks. I'd go to my car, and then at that point I wouldn't listen to lecture anymore. I'd just listen to music and just try to chill out and put on some positive vibes and get ready to kick ass on the exam. So yeah, so those are my study tips for brand new nurses. I hope it was super helpful for you. And if you guys have any questions, or maybe you want me to do a video over something else, please feel free and let me know. Otherwise, if I can think of anything that would be helpful, I will pop on for y'all. But yeah, so have a good semester. And if you ever doubt yourself, don't, okay? All you need is determination and like will, and you'll be totally fine. I know this because when I was a nursing school student, I also had to hold down a part-time job in order to make ends meet, and also financial aid and all of this stuff. So I wasn't just a student. I also worked part-time and went to school and juggled all that business. But anyways, okay, so good luck this semester, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.